As a Model 3 owner, and specifically a first-time electric vehicle owner and a first-time Tesla owner, I did a bunch of research before I decided to place the order of my Standard Range Plus back in 2019. I knew I wanted to go EV, so I kind of researched that market. I knew specifically I wanted to go Tesla, so I researched that even more. But then when I came down to actually going with the model, I was presented with a little bit of a tricky choice. Do I save about $10,000 and go with the Standard Range Plus Model 3, or do I spend that money and get more range plus some other things for that $10,000 price, which 10,000 bucks about is nothing to scoff at? Was it necessarily worth it to go with that model and get the premium features, or would I just be, just as happy saving the money and going with the Standard Range Plus? What is the real difference between the Standard Range Plus and the other models? Well, let's answer that question. In this video, I'm kind of breaking down the big differences between the Standard Range Plus and Long Range Model 3, the differences between partial premium versus full premium, and really answering the question, can you really be a happy Tesla owner if you get the Standard Range Plus? Are you really missing out on anything that important? Let's find out. First things first, let's talk about that price difference. Tesla loves to change the pricing on the Model 3, so the prices are definitely going to vary by the time you're actually watching this video, but as of recording right now, at the end of March in 2021, here are the prices on those two vehicles in particular. You can buy the base Standard Range Plus for $37,490 before obviously taxes and fees and dock fees and all that stuff, and the Long Range for $46,990, so roughly a $9,500 difference between the two models. So you can save about $10,000 by going to the Standard Range Plus variant. But what are you missing out on if you go for that model? Well, you're gonna miss out on one of the obvious things. Let's get it out of the way right now. It's gonna be battery capacity and in turn, range. The Long Range Model 3 right now can give you 353 miles of range on a full 100% charge, while the Standard Range Plus can do about 263 miles of range at a full 100% charge. So about 90 miles difference there. And that might not seem like a big amount, might not seem like anything that would be worrisome or anything to give a second thought at, but when driving an EV, every mile counts, and you typically want to buy as much battery as you can afford at the time, and get as much range as you possibly can, because you can never really buy that later. You're kind of just stuck with what you have, though you could change other things later per se. Kind of get what I'm saying? So in my case here, for my Standard Range Plus, I actually bought my car in 2019 when the 100% charge was a 240 mile range equivalent. And I will say that over time, obviously the battery is going to degrade a bit. You're not going to get that full 100% promise if you charge to 100% a few months later. I think right now I can get about 230-ish miles if I charge to 100%. But suffice it to say, I've been really happy with that range. I've made whole videos about this topic. I'll leave a link to one of those up there that kind of talks about what it's like to live with that kind of range. And it's not anything bad by any means. So I don't think that the 263 miles of range in a Standard Range Plus is anything bad. But if you do a lot of road trips, or you're in colder climates, or if you just kind of, again, want to have as much range as possible, that 353 of the Long Range is going to be a very important thing to consider. And again, it's going to be kind of a good choice to go with as much range and as much battery as you possibly can afford at the time. So, kind of keep in mind your driving habits, how much you think you're going to drive, do some estimations and some calculations. But again, if you go Standard Range Plus, you are going to miss out on range, about 90 miles, which is a pretty big deal. And for some people, worth that $9,500 price hike alone. The Standard Range Plus is also a single motor vehicle. It's a rear-wheel drive only, while the dual motor has two motors and is all-wheel drive. So the dual motor can be a little faster, obviously off the line. It's got a faster 0 to 60 time. It's got a little bit more of a top speed that it can achieve. And also it's generally going to be better in snowy climates and colder climates because of that all-wheel drive that you don't get with the Standard Range Plus, that again is just rear-wheel drive only. So obviously you've got some differences there in terms of battery capacity and range and motors and stuff like that, but putting that to the side for a second, if you just kind of look at the cars on first glance, you wouldn't really notice a difference. In fact, unless you were specifically looking for some kind of badge in the back, like a dual motor badge or performance badge, you wouldn't notice any difference between these cars. They look exactly the same on the exterior. Additionally, they even look like a performance Model 3. Unless you really knew what to look for, all these cars basically look the same. And you've also got the same color options and paint options to choose from here. You have basically the same wheel options as well. In terms of long range and standard range plus, you've got the same wheel options available. You've got the same interior. You've got the same exterior. Everything looks exactly the same. So in terms of value for that standard range plus price tag at about, what did I say, 35, 36, 37,000, whatever, for sub $40,000, you're getting the exact same looking car as someone paying almost double that if you were to go with a performance variant. So it's a great looking car, and you know, you're not going to see any big difference or any kind of a budget difference by looking on the outside. Inside as well, you're going to have the same vegan leather options. The screen is going to be exactly the same, no software differences. From the inside and outside, unless again you know what you're looking for, you've got the exact same looking car, which makes the Standard Range Plus an even better value. You're getting an ultra premium experience on the inside, a pretty luxurious experience as well, and a great looking car on the outside, all for under 40,000 bucks. But with that being said, there are some big differences in terms of the interior features that we do have to discuss, and again, could be a make or break deal for many people. Now, Tesla used to kind of categorize these cars in two different variants. There was partial premium and full premium. So the standard range and standard range plus vehicles had a partial premium interior, meaning it had a nice premium interior, but it didn't have all the bells and whistles, while the performance and long range version had the full premium interior that gave you everything you'd expect with a higher end Tesla vehicle. Tesla no longer has that verbiage on the website. I thought that was interesting. They don't really say partial premium for Model 3 Standard Range Plus, though the differences are still there, so that's just something to keep in mind. But like I said, you are missing some big things on the Standard Range Plus that you get if you go with the long range Model 3. First off, no floor mats in the Standard Range Plus. I thought this was something interesting when I picked up my car that I was just kind of surprised to see. I know many owners online are very angry about this, but it is what it is. There is no addition of floor mats inside of your Standard Range Plus. You kind of get this regular kind of, you know, fabric-y material on the bottom, but there are no mats, no protective coverings or anything like that. You're basically just getting kind of the bare material on the bottom with a little bit of a cover. If you go to the front, though, you're just getting the bare plastic kind of shell material. There is no covering, there is no mat, there is nothing to protect that at all. You're just kind of getting the bare basics when it comes to that. So you will have to invest if you go with the Standard Range Plus in floor mats and a front cover and a trunk cover. I'll leave some links to my favorite and recommendations down below, but something to keep in mind, even though it is, you know, near 40,000 bucks, no floor mats with that variant. Next up, probably the biggest difference between Standard Range Plus and long range Model 3s is going to be the sound system. This is probably the biggest make or break for many people, and if you're an audiophile, you're probably just going to want to go with the higher end system. I can tell you that right now. Now, with that being said, I have the Standard Range Plus audio system, obviously, and I think it sounds pretty good. I'm not an audiophile, but music does sound good. But to give you some comparison here, the Standard Range Plus has a 6-speaker system. It gives you immersive sound, though they say it has immersive sound. I can't really hear a difference, but it is there. But you are missing some amplifiers and a subwoofer, while the long-range Model 3 has a 14-speaker system, so more than double the amount of speakers, and it includes a subwoofer and those amplifiers. And I've been able to listen to the sound difference between the partial premium and full premium interiors in the different cars, and I'll tell you the difference is pretty night and day. Again, if you are someone who really likes music, and especially you want kind of the thump and the thud of the subwoofer, and you want more speakers and a truly immersive sound experience, then you're going to want to go with the long range. It does have a better audio system that many people are very happy with. Again, I have the Standard Range Plus system, and it's okay. I kind of, don't have a choice. I use it every day, and it's okay. But there is a noticeable difference. So if you're someone who just kind of casually listens to music like I do, podcasts and stuff like that, Standard Range Plus is going to be great. Though if you're really into music and kind of want to enjoy the very best experience, then the long range Model 3 is going to be the way to go, basically purely for that sound system. Another feature missing here is heated seats. So with the long range Model 3, all 5 seats can be heated directly from the touchscreen, no problem, as you'd expect. The Model 3 Standard Range Plus can heat the rear seats, but this is an additional option you have to pay for over the air. The hardware is there, you just kind of have to pay to unlock it. So the driver and passenger can obviously heat their seats, no problem. But if you do want to heat those seats in the back, you are going to have to pay a $300 fee to basically unlock that hardware in the back. This again is a little controversial. Some owners appreciate the savings. Like, I had never used those seats in the back, so I don't want to pay the $300, so I'll gladly keep that money in my pocket. But many think think it's just another kind of example of Tesla nickel and diming in order to get a little bit more money out of owners. I don't know where you guys stand on this. Let me know in the comments down below. But rear heated seats are there. You're just going to have to pay for it to get it unlocked on the Standard Range Plus. There are some other small differences here as well. Interior lighting is different. The Standard Range Plus is a little bit darker than the interior lighting package in the long range Model 3. Also, the LED fog lamps, they're there in the Standard Range Plus, but they're not on. You're going to have to get the long range if you want to use those. And then another thing is premium connectivity, basically Tesla's data plan for the car. If you go with the Standard Range Plus, you're going to get that for 30 days free. Then you're going to have to start to pay $10 a month to use that. If you go with the long range model, you can get it free for a year until you have to start making payments in order to use that data connection in your car. So it's only about $120 difference, so it might not be a huge deal for many people, but I guess actually not 120. What is that? 10 times 11? Can I do math? 110. So just something to keep in mind if you want to go for the long range. You'll get a little bit more premium connectivity for free. Standard Range Plus, you get it free for a month. Then you're gonna have to pony up the money and pay $10 a month in order to use your car cell connection. And last but certainly not least, a heated steering wheel option. That is an option and is by default a feature in the long range Model 3, and it is not in the Standard Range Plus. I'm not sure if the hardware is there and it's just not turned on, if you can pay to get it unlocked later, or if the hardware is not there at all. But regardless, there is no heated steering wheel as of right now in the Standard Range Plus, though you can get that in the long range Model 3. So ultimately, I think this comes down to three things. It's range, it's speed, and it's sound quality. If either of those three things is a big deal for you, then you're probably going to want to go up to the long range variant. If you want as much range as possible, go long range. If you want the dual motor peppiness and the speed of the electric vehicle, kind of get that full experience, go with the long range. If you care about audio quality, again, well, you see where this is going, go with the long range. But with that being said, if those aren't a deal breaker for you, or if you're willing to kind of save the $10,000 and make some sacrifices, the Standard Range Plus is still a fantastic car. As an owner myself, I really love the car. I have no regrets going with that model. I think it's a fantastic value, especially under $40,000, and I'm a happy camper. I like the car a lot, though the long range does give you a lot of things to consider. So what do you guys think? Standard Range Plus versus long range. Are the savings worth it for the Standard Range Plus? Do you get enough for that car and for that price, even though you're missing some things? Is it still a great deal? Or do you think it's worth it to spend the about $10,000 and go long range? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I will see you in the next one.